evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 24th of January. My name is Anuj and I will be taking today's session. In today's session, we will be covering 5 main news and 8 quick update and 1 personality in news. In first main news, we will be covering about RBI report which have highlighted about demographic transition in India and its implication for state finances. Then in the second report, we will be covering about circular economy as Niti Aayog has released a report on circular economy of e-waste and lithium ion batteries. Then in the third main news, we will be covering about the climate resilient agriculture as the government has launched Digital Climate Atlas marking the 15 years of NICRA. Then we will be talking about the AI governance as a white paper on strengthening AI governance through Techno-Legal framework has been released. Then we will be covering about the fourth industrial revolution as the WEF has announced 5 new fourth industrial revolution centers globally. Then we will be briefly covering about 8 quick update and 1 personality in news. And personality in news for today is Veer Surendra Sahi. So this is a brief about today's session. Let us deep dive into the today's session and discuss the first news for today. What is the first news? The first news is that the RBI has released a report and the report talks about the demographic transition and its implication on the state finances. In this report, they have covered about the state finances and how demographic transition is taking place and what impact that demographic transition will have on the state finances. It is related to GS paper 3 where syllabus talks about government budgeting. After this discussion, we will also solve 2 PYQ which are very interesting. So please listen to the news very carefully and discuss all the development which are there in this. First of all, the development. So the development, we have already discussed the context. The development is that a report is about the state finances, which is about study of budget of 2025 and 26 and provides a comprehensive analysis of state fiscal position of the state government. So that is the report and it is talking about the demographic transition. It is saying that various states are at the various stages of the demographic transition and they have given the example of Bihar. In Bihar, the median age is of 23 years and in Kerala, the median age is of 37 years. So they have given this example and they have said that the median age or the demographic transition will have impact on the finances of the state government. So they have divided the states into 3 aspects. One is youthful state, second intermediary state and third aging state. All that we will be discussing in this news. Before that, let us discuss about the key highlight about the fiscal position of the state government. First of all, they talked about the state consolidated gross fiscal deficit. So let us understand about fiscal deficit. What is fiscal deficit? It is the total borrowing by the government. That is the basic meaning of fiscal deficit. So it has said that it has increased to 3.3 of the GDP in 2024-25 after remaining 3% for the previous 3 years. And they have given the reason as well. So 0.3% have increased due to loan given by the central government for the capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is very important for creation of assets. Okay. Secondly, the report talks about the revenue expenditure. Before understanding about revenue expenditure, let us understand about the type of expenditure. One is revenue expenditure and another one is capital expenditure. These are basics of economy. Okay. In revenue expenditure, it is for day-to-day functioning of the government. Here, it is for salaries, the revenue given for the salaries, revenue given for the interest payment, revenue given for the subsidies. So these are there in the revenue expenditure. And in capital expenditure, it is for the creation of asset. which will re-benefit in the long terms. And it is also for giving the loans, that is also under the capital expenditure. So they are saying that there is sustained decline from 15% of GDP in the year 2020-21 to 13.3% in 2024-25. In this year, in the mains examination, there was a question about the state finances and their vulnerabilities. So such type of data can be written in such questions. Thirdly, the report talks about the consolidated outstanding liabilities of the state. So they have said that it has decreased from 31% in March and 2021 to 28%, but it is not near the goal. The goal is to decrease to 20%, but it is at 28% and it is decreasing. So that is the consolidated outstanding liabilities of the state. So with this, we have completed this. Now let us move further in this report. Secondly, the report highlight related to the demographic transition in India. We have already discussed in the context that the demographic transition is taking place in India. And when we talk about India as a whole, as a country, we are at the inflation point. And what is the meaning of it? It means that the median age of our population is at the 28 years. And we should be taking benefit as the working age population is at its peak. So basically, there is lot of young people in India, and they will come in the workforce. And by their working, we will grow as a country. But for that, we need investment in the human capital. So here the report has highlighted about the interstate divergence. We have already talked about it in the context and the development when we were discussing about Bihar and Kerala. So the report has divided the state into three types. One, youthful state, then intermediary states, then aging state. So it might be clear for you by the name itself. In the youthful state, states with a high share of young population. And example for these type of states are Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. And they have wider window of opportunity. So they have to invest in education and skilling, that we will be learning in the policy recommendation given in the same report. Secondly, the intermediary state such as Telangana and Uttarakhand are seeing a narrowing windows of opportunity. Then the aging states such as Kerala and Tamil Nadu have crossed the demographic turning point. So their median age is higher than the 28. So they have no longer that benefit of demographic transition. So this was about the interstate divergence. Let us move further in this report and discuss the various aspects. So it has talked about the fiscal implication of demographic transition on state. So here as well, it has talked about the various impact of the demographic transition on state. First of all, it has said that there will be the shrinkage in the tax base. So if the working age population is higher, the base on the people on which we can tax will be higher. If the population will be aging, that means the tax base will be shrinking, and it will erode the tax base and the revenue of the government. Secondly, it talks about the rising committed expenditure. And what type of committed expenditure here report is talking about? It is talking about the pensions. And it has supported this with an example. So it is saying that in the year 2024-25, that the aging states has allocated around 30% of their social sector spending to the pensions only. So the intermediary state and the youthful state have to learn that in the coming ages, they have to invest more on the committed expenditure. And what type of committed expenditure? On the pensions. Then it also talks about the fiscal vulnerability. It has shown that the aging state have higher debt to state GDP ratio. So their debt is higher. Secondly, it has talked about they have higher interest payment to the revenue receipt. So they have to pay higher interest rate and in comparison to the revenue receipt. They said that it should be around 2%, but in many aging state, it is way higher up to 2.7. So this is about the fiscal implication of the demographic transition on state. Now let us look at the policy recommendation given by the RBI. So it has divided its recommendation into three. One for the youthful state, second for the intermediate state, and third for the aging states. For the youthful state, the RBI has recommended that there should be massive investment in education, skilling, and health. Suppose I have a younger population in my state. So I need to invest more in education, skilling, and health so that I can reap benefit of the demographic transition, that youth can be converted into social capital and human capital and they can grow the economy. That is the recommendation for the youthful state. Secondly, for the intermediary state, the RBI has recommended that they have to approach a dual strategy of growth. So they have to invest in education, skilling, and health, and also in the silver economy and the population of the the aging population. So that is the recommendation for the intermediate state. Third, they have also given the recommendation for the aging states. Here they are talking about harnessing the silver economy. Silver economy is related to the economy of old people. So this term is also important. They are saying that the aging state should harness the silver economy by extending the working lives, and also it talks about the raising retirement age so that they can be productive for the longer periods. So this was all about the first news. Now let us discuss the PYQ related to this news. So the first PYQ is from the prelims paper of 2025. Please don't think that this question is from the CSET examination. It is from the GS1 itself. And for clearing this, your basics should be very clear. The question is, suppose the revenue expenditure of is 80,000 crore and the revenue receipt of the governments are 60,000 crore. The government budget also shows the borrowing of 10,000 crore and interest payment of 6,000 crores. So which of the following statements are correct? First, the revenue deficit is 20,000 crore. What is revenue deficit? It is the revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipt. So that will be 80,000 crore minus the 60,000 crore. That will be 20,000 crore. So first statement is correct. Second, the fiscal deficit is 10,000 crore. So what is the fiscal deficit? That is the total borrowing of the government. And here the government borrowing is 10,000 crores. So the second statement is also correct. Then the third statement, the primary deficit is 4,000 crore. What is primary deficit? Primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So what is the fiscal deficit? That is 10,000 crores. And what is the interest payment? That is 6,000 crore. So 10,000 minus 6,000 crore, that will leads to the primary deficit of 4,000 crore. So the answer will be 1, 2, and 3. This was a very interesting PYQ from the 2025 prelims examination. Now let us discuss one more PYQ related to this news. Okay, PYQ are very important as your prelims examination is also coming. The question is from the 2018 paper and the statements are: the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Review Committee report has recommended a debt to GDP ratio of 60,000 for the general, that is combined government by 2023, comprising 40% for the central government and 20% for the state government. So at that time, this was a correct statement. Now the timelines have changed, but the targets are same. Okay. So the first statement is correct. Secondly, the central government has domestic liabilities of 21% of state GDP as compared to that of 49% of GDP of the state government. It is higher for the central government. Okay. So this statement is wrong. The third, as per the Constitution of India, it is mandatory for the state to take the central government consent for raising any loan if the former owes any outstanding liabilities to the latter. It is typically not from the economy, it is from the polity of Article 293, and it is a correct statement. So the first statement is correct, third statement is correct, then answer will be C, 1 and 3 only. So with this, we have completed the first news. Now let us discuss the second news for today. Second news is about the circular economy, and it is a report which has been released by Niti Aayog. And in this, we will be learning about the circular economy of e-waste and lithium ion batteries. And we will also considering and looking at the e-waste status. It is related to paper 3, where syllabus talks about environment conservation and pollution. So let us discuss this news. Okay. So the development, we have already discussed the context. The development is that the Niti Aayog has released this report in collaboration with the Energy and Resource Institution, that is TERI, and they have talked about the requirement of circular economy. So what is basically a circular economy? You might have learned about triple R: reduce, reuse and recycle. That is circular economy. But for the definition, it is given here that circular economy is model of production and consumption which involve sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing and recycling of the products. That is the verbatim definition of circular economy. Even you can write about RRR. So before moving further, let us understand about e-waste. You might be seeing this video on your phone, on your tab, on your laptops, and you might be seeing many electronic devices in and around you. That can be AC, that can be a heater, that can be the other electronic device such as fridge. So when their life ends, they become electronic waste. They have many type of chemicals which are toxic, and they have very kind of material which is usable as well. So here the report talks about the usability of the electronic waste and what kind of materials are there that can be used. That can be gold, that can be rare earth minerals. So that is about e-waste and circular economy. Now let us discuss the status of e-waste in India. The first of all, let us understand about the e-waste generation. So it has increased to 6.19 million metric ton in 2024, and it is projected to grow to 14 MMT, and it is third largest globally. Okay, so we have a large population, and so that we are using lot of electronic device, that is leading to the larger share of electronic waste. We are the third largest at the global level, that constitute around 7% of global volume. But here the recycling rate is very low, and it is at 10%, which is much lower than the global average. Global average is of about 22%, whereas in the areas and regions such as EU, it is at higher 55%, and in USA it is up to 56%. So we are not recycling our e-waste materials, and in that as well we have various initiatives One is e-waste management rules of 2022. They established extended producer responsibility mandate. So this extended producer responsibility was introduced in 2011 by e-waste management rule. Here they established the certificate. Suppose they are not able to match their target, they can extend or trade the certificate. There was a direct question about the extended producer responsibility, I think in the year 2017 or 18, in which the UPSC has asked about by which act it was introduced. It was introduced in 2011 by e-waste management rules. Here we are talking about the e-waste management rule of 2022. They are amended time to time. Then there is another initiative as well, that is battery waste management rule of 2022, and they mandate collection, recycling and refurbishment target, and they prohibit landfill disposal and incineration. So they cannot be directly burned and they cannot be directly put into the landfills because they have very toxic chemicals. So they have to be collected, recycled and refurbished. That is about the battery waste management rule of 2022. So this is about the status of e-waste in India and various initiative, and you can see that there can be a direct question from such types of initiative. Now let us move further in this news and discuss about the challenges in the circularity of e-waste. We have understand about the circular economy, we have understand about the e-waste. Now let us discuss about the challenges of circularity of e-waste. First of all, informal and inefficient collection. So the most of the recycling in India, around 78%, is in the informal sector, where the material collection, material recycling efficiencies of 10 to 20% only, which is very low. And in the formal sector, it is very high, that is up to 95%. But in the formal sector, only 22% of India's e-waste is recycled. Most of the recyclement is taking place in the informal sector, where there is very low efficiency. Secondly, there is weak monitoring and the enforcement. We have talked about the extended producer responsibility system. So traders are involving in the malpractices of these certificate, and these certificate have also limited benefit, as the major metal dominates such as iron and copper, whereas critical minerals or the valuable minerals are not significantly harnessed from these. Especially the critical minerals such as cobalt are not harnessed effectively. Then there is issue of low technical capacity and skilling as well. So these are the challenges in the circularity of the e-waste that has been highlighted by the report. Now let us move further and discuss about the recommendation which are given in the report. So first of all, it is talking about strengthening waste management rule. So it is talking about the extended producer responsibility, that there should be better monitoring of the recycling through the expanded EPR coverage. And it is saying that the critical minerals should be monitored effectively, so that we are dependent for the critical minerals, so their import can be reduced. Secondly, talk about the providing incentives, such as additional incentives under the production linked incentive scheme can be provided. For if you are recycling, then there will be the additional incentives that has been recommended. Please read about the production linked incentive scheme. There was a direct question in the year 2025 mains examination about this scheme. Okay. Then it is talking about informal sector integration. As we have seen in the challenge, that the efficiency in the informal sector is very low and they are handling around 78% of e-waste. So it is talking about that the informal sector should be integrated with the formal sector. And how it can be done? It can be done through use of single window system. There can be the separate vertical in the national critical mineral mission. There is a national critical mission. In that there can be a separate vertical that will only look after at the recycling of the e-waste and e-waste critical minerals from the e-waste specifically. Then last one is generic recommendation. It is talking about the consumer awareness, skilling and reskilling of workforce. Who are the consumers? We are the consumers. So we should be aware that how our product can be recycled, where we have to submit them after their completion of the life. So these are the recommendations which are given in this report. Now let us discuss the PYQ which are related to this news. So first PYQ is from the year 2025. Please look at the screen and the question is, consider the following statement. Statement 1, circular economy reduces the emission of greenhouse gases. It is a correct statement. There will be the circular economy. It will reduce the greenhouse gases because there will not be requirement for further production. And if there is less production, there will be the less greenhouse gases. The second statement is circular economy reduces the use of raw materials as the inputs. Obviously, if we are reusing, recycling, reducing, there will be the low use of raw materials as input. Third, circular economy reduces waste in the production process. That is also a correct statement. So here you can infer that if the question is very long, that is, it not necessarily means that the question is difficult. That can also mean that if you read it thoroughly, that question can be very simple as well. This is a simple question from the year 2025, and the answer will be that the both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, and both of them explain the statement 1. So both of them explain the statement 1 because there will be less requirement of raw material. There will be the reduced wastage in the production process that will lead to the reduction in the greenhouse gases. So the option A is the correct. Then there is a question from the mains examination of 2018 as well. The question is, what are the impediments in the disposing of the huge quantities of discarded solid waste which are continuously being generated? How do we safely remove the toxic waste that have been accumulated in our habitat environment? So this is not a direct PYQ, but 1 or 2 points about the e-waste can be written in this question. So this was from the mains examination of 2018. So with this, we have completed this news. Now let us move to the next news for today. The next news for today is about the climate resilient agriculture and the development. Sorry, the context is that the government has launched the digital climate atlas, and which on the marking of 15 years of NICRA, National Innovation in Climate Resilient Agriculture. So this is a scheme. We will be learning about this scheme. We will be learning about climate resilient agriculture and about this atlas as well. It is related to GS paper 3 where syllabus talks about Indian agriculture. So let us discuss this news in detail. First of all, the development. What is the development? We have already discussed the context. The development that along with that atlas, there is a launch of digital platform that is known as Atlas of Climate Adaptation in Indian Agriculture, which has been launched on the marking of 15 years of NICRA. NICRA was launched in the year 2011. Okay. So this platform is developed by ICR led National Agriculture Research and Extension System in collaboration with Borelius Institution for South Asia. That is about the development of about this atlas. And what this atlas will do, basically it will support the location specific data driven adaptation planning for the climate resilient agriculture. We will be learning about climate resilient agriculture in the next slide. Before that, let us learn about adaptation and mitigation. What is the meaning of adaptation and mitigation? So basically, climate change is taking place. To, uh, to counter the climate change and its impact, we have to adapt. Suppose there is tsunami, there will be the occurrence of tsunami, we can build the walls on the coastal region. That is the adaptation. And what is the mitigation? It is basically solving the basic issue why the climate change is taking place. So if there will be the rise of temperature, we will try to solve how that temperature can be brought down. That is about the mitigation. With this, let us move to the next slide and learn about the climate resilient agriculture. So this was about this slide. Now let us move to the next slide and discuss about the climate resilient agriculture. With this name, you can understand what it means. Basically, it means adopting adaptation and mitigation practices. We have already understood about adaptation and mitigation in agriculture to enhance system ability to withstand the climate shock and recover quickly. So basically, we are assuming that climate change will take place. So to reduce the impact of that climate change, we have to improve our agriculture system, and that is known as climate resilient agriculture. Okay. So it referred to adopting adaptation and mitigation practices in agriculture which enhances the ability to withstand climate shock and recover quickly. And why we need climate resilient agriculture? First of all, we need it to prevent the yield loss. It is said that the climate change can reduce the yield by 4.5 to 9%, which can result around decrease of 1.5% GDP loss per year, which is a huge amount. So we have to increase our yield so that we should know about the climate resilient agriculture. Secondly, it is about the protecting livelihood. As we know that around 57% of rural household is directly dependent on the farming for their income. It is a huge number that 57% of rural household are directly dependent on the agriculture. If agriculture will suffered by the climate change, their income will vary and it will increase to poverty in the rural region. Then it is also as the rain-fed areas vulnerability. What are the regions which are rain-fed? The meaning is that in the rain-fed, the agriculture is dependent on rain for irrigation. And in India, around 51% of India's net sown area is rain fed. That means that around around more than 50%, the the agriculture region is dependent on the rains for irrigation. And if there will be changes in climate, there will be changes in the rain and the rain patterns. So it will impact around 40% of the food, as these areas produce 40% of food, and most of these regions grow the rice. Okay, and it will also lead to the food security problem in India. That's why that is the importance of climate resilient agriculture. Now let us move further in this news and understand about the national innovation in climate resilient agriculture. So basically it was launched by Indian Council of Agriculture Research in the year 2011. We have already discussed in the development. So whenever a scheme complete a timeline of around 5 years, 10 years or 15 years, now even UPSC is focusing on the schemes which have completed 3 years or 7 years. So they become very important for your prelims as well as for your mains examination. So it was launched by Indian Council of Agriculture Research in the year 2011. And what are its objective? Its objective is to enhance the resilience of Indian agriculture to the climate change and vulnerability, and to validate and demonstrate the climate resilient technologies on the farmer's field. So basically, there are two main objectives of this program is, that is to enhance the resilience of the Indian agriculture against the climate change. Secondly, to demonstrate the technological innovation that can be put on the ground to counter the climate change. And it has four components. First one is strategic research through network sponsored and competitive grants. So it is talking about the better research. Secondly, it is talking about technology demonstration and dissemination. So there have to be development of technology and that has to be disseminated to the farmers. Thirdly, it is talking about knowledge management. So what are the knowledge there is about the climate change and how those climate change knowledge can be put into the field. That is the third component. Fourthly, it talk about the capacity building. Capacity buildings of researcher, capacity buildings of the farmers to tackle the climate change in the agriculture. With this, we have completed this news. Now let us discuss one PYQ related to this news. Sorry, the PYQ is from the year 2018. Okay. This is not relevant for this news. The left side question is relevant. And the question is, with reference to the Global Alliance for the Climate Smart Agriculture, which of the following statement is or are correct? So the first, it is an outcome of the climate summit held in Paris in 2015. Okay. Second, the membership of GACSA does not create any binding obligation. Third, India was instrument in creation of GACSA. So it was a very tough question at that time. So basically it is an initiative of FAO and it was started in 2010 in Hague, not in the Paris. So the first option is incorrect. Second, the membership of the GACSA does not create any binding obligation. That is a correct statement. It is a tough question basically. Third, India was instrument in the creation of GACSA. India is a signatory but not an instrumental, does not played an instrumental role in creation of this. So the answer will be B2 only. There will be some question in prelims examination which are very tough. So it was not in the news in the 2018. It was a scheme of 2010, that is also FAO. So with this, we have completed this news. Now let us move to the next news for today. So the next news is about the AI governance, and the context here is that the white paper on strengthening the AI governance through Techno-Legal framework has been released. In this news, we will be learning about what is the meaning of this Techno-Legal framework and how can we govern the AI in better way. It is related to paper 2 where syllabus talks about important aspect of governance. Okay. Now let us deep dive into this news and discuss this in detail. First of all, the development. We have already discussed the context. The development is that this white paper has been released by Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, and they have proposed a shift from traditional command and control regulation to a techno-legal model for AI governance. We will be understanding in detail the techno-legal model. Let us first understand about what is command and control regulation. So basically in command and control regulation, there is a top-down approach. So there will be some policies. So suppose they have formed some policies and everyone has to adhere to these policies, and if they don't adhere to these policies, there will be penalties. That is the meaning of command and control regulation. So this white paper, which has been released by Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, has talked about techno-legal model for AI governance. In the next month there will be an AI impact summit as well, that is taking place in India, that become very important. And all this is the second paper related to this which have been released. There was also a paper which was related to democratization of AI usage. Here they are talking about the techno-legal model of governance. Now let us understand what is the meaning of this techno-legal governance. So basically, there are 3 to 4 principles under the techno-legal governance. So here it is talking about the governance by design. So it is saying that there is legal and ethical requirement are embedded into AI system at the design stage. So what is the problem in the governance of AI basically? So AI is developing at a very fast pace, but the governance system is slow. So they are becoming reactive to the problem created by the AI usage. So they are saying that there should be embedment of the governance system into the AI at the design stage itself. So that why there will be the complexities that can be governed beforehand. That is the basic meaning. So here presently, how AI is governed in India? It is governed by various act, IT Act of 2000, DPDP Act of 2023, and various regulators such as SBI and SEBI in their respective field. So that sometimes become reactive. There can be the issue of defects, then we have to create and we have to judge how we can apply these laws on the defects. But here they are talking about the techno-legal framework and saying that there can be the embedment into the AI system at the design stage itself. Then they are talking that it will pro innovation and it will provide the flexible regulation as the risk mitigation is balanced with the innovation. They are saying under this there will be the provision for the innovation. Then they are saying that the risk proportionate control will be there. If there will be the higher risk, the governance system will be high or the regulation will be high. If there is lower risk, the regulation will be the low. Then it talks about human oversight. Basically, human oversight is required in the AI is very necessary. So they are saying that human supervision is retained at a critical decision point to prevent automated harms. So that there should not be automated harms, and the human supervision is required at the critical decision point. Then it talks about that the life cycle based governance should be there. That means that the governance should be at the every stage of the life of the AI. So what type of life they are discussing here? Now let us discuss that in detail. So basically they have divided into the 5 life cycle stages. So the first one, at the data collection stage. So what are the key risks at the stage of data collection? The risk are privacy breach, inclusion of malicious deepfake content, IP violation and sampling biases. So these are the risks at the data collection stage. So they are saying for that there should be data protection impact assessment, so that there how data can be protected, that should be assessed. There should be the consent verification and the privacy threat modeling, that how privacy can be threatened, that should be the modeled. So that is the proposed techno-legal control at the stage of data collection. Then they talked about the second stage, that is data in use protection. So what are the risks at the second stage? The risks are unauthorized access, data poisoning. What is data poisoning? So that is giving the data that is malicious, that is data poisoning, and exposure of sensitive data to the third parties. That is the issue at the second stage. And how this can be tackled according to this policy? It talks about the privacy enhancing technologies. It talks about the differential privacy. It talks about synthetic data. What is synthetic data? The data that is generated using the AI that can be put in the place of the real data. Then it talks about the confidential computing. Computing should be confidential, coding and everything. Then it talks about AI training and assessment. And here the risks are model inversion attack, memorization of the personal data. Personal data can be memorized by the system, and lack of explainability. It cannot explain the result. That are the third risk at the third stage. So here it talks about red teaming, stress testing, scoring model for privacy, safety, fairness, and explainability. Basically, here the important term is red teaming. Basically, putting the systems, how the system will work. That is the red teaming. Then it talks about the safe AI inference at the fourth stage. And the risk here are hallucination, prompt injection, and harmful output during the real-time user interaction. You might have seen while using the chat GPT that it hallucinate and give the wrong result. So that is a risk here, and the solution provided by that is runtime monitoring, that there should be monitoring at the runtime. There should be responsible AI firewalls. What is the firewalls in the AI system? That is a security system. After that you cannot cross, that a person cannot cross. And risk tagging of the prompt which someone is giving, that can be tagged as red, amber and green, such as the boxes in the WTO. Okay, you might have seen about these boxes. Then the trusted agent. Here the risks are autonomous agent acting beyond scope, and privilege escalation and lack of audibility. These are the issue at the fifth stage. And here they talk about agent identity authentication, context-based firewall, kill switches, and behavior logging. So these are some risks, and these are some proposed techno-legal control. So you don't have to understand the complete details which are given, but this techno-legal framework can be supported if there is a question about AI governance in the mains examination. Now let us look at the risks which are there related to techno-legal framework as well. So what will be the challenges? First challenges is about the privacy versus the performance. So in this there will be data erasure. A significant data erasure will be there, which can reduce the model performance. The overall performance of that AI system can be reduced. Then secondly, there will be the distinction between AI user and AI subject. So basically in India, various users are treated as subject but not as the users. So we have to change that. That there is requirement that there are AI users and not the AI subject. That is the second challenge here. The third challenge is about the cross-border alignment and enforcement. So this techno-legal framework can be generated in India itself. But if there is a model that is trained abroad, which cannot or may not incorporate the Indian safeguard, which will take place, or which will give to the regulatory gaps. Then the third implementation challenge is about the balancing compliance with the system accuracy. As there is lot of data erasure, there will be the issue of the compliance with the system accuracy. These are the challenges which are associated with the techno-legal framework. This is a framework which have been suggested in the white paper of Office of Principal Advisor. So with this, we have completed this news. Now let us discuss the PYQ which is related to this news. Again, the PYQ is from the prelims examination of 2025. It is not a direct question, but such types of questions related to AI governance are coming in the prelims examination. The question is, consider the following statement regarding the AI Action Summit held in Grand Palace, Paris in February 2025. Current affairs based question. So it was co-chaired by India. The event built on the advances made by Blackley Park Summit, which held in UK, and this Seoul Summit, which taken place in South Korea. So the first statement was correct. It was co-chaired by India along with the France. Second statement was, along with the other countries, US and UK also signed the Declaration on Inclusive and Sustainable AI. So basically these two countries did not sign this. So the second statement was incorrect. So the answer was A1 only. So these types of questions related to AI governance is coming because AI governance in itself is very new and challenging. With this, we have completed this news. Now let us move to the next news for today. So the next news is about the fourth industrial revolution. And the context here is that the WEF has announced 5 new fourth industrial revolution centers globally. In this news, we will be learning about these centers, we will be learning about various stages of industrial revolution and about specifically about the fourth industrial revolution and why it is significant. So it is related to paper 3 where syllabus talks about awareness in the field of IT, space and computer. And industrial revolution is also there in world history. When we will be discussing a PYQ, we will be discussing the PYQ of the world history. Now let us discuss this news in detail. So the development here is that sorry. The development here is that the WEF has announced 5 fourth industrial revolution center. In those 5, one will be opened in India, that will be in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, and previously we have 2 such center. One is there in Mumbai and another one is there in Telangana. Okay, so let us understand about the stages of industrial revolution. You might have heard about first industrial revolution, you might have heard about industrial revolution 2.0, then 3.0, then 4.0, and then we have also learning about the industrial revolution 5.0. In first industrial revolution, there was modernization of steam power. Steam power and such types of power were used in the first industrial revolution. In second industrial revolution, there was usage of electricity and mass production assembly line. You might have seen those assembly line where there will be the continuous production. That is under the second industrial revolution major. It was about electricity and about the mass production by the assembly line. Then the third industrial revolution was about computer and automation. Okay, it was around 1980s or around in that area. Then the fourth industrial revolution is about the cyber physical system. Here it is about AI, machine learning, it is about Internet of Things. That is under the fourth industrial revolution. Then what is the fifth industrial revolution? Fifth industrial revolution is that where the human and smart machine will work in a collaborative manner. Here you talk about the cobots, you talk about the augmented AI, that is under the industrial revolution 5.0. So these are the various stages of industrial revolution. Let us understand about in detail about the fourth industrial revolution, as the news is about the fourth industrial revolution. First of all, the term was coined by Los Schwab. And who was he? He was the founder of World Economic Forum, and this term was given in the year 2016. Okay, and he described the current era in which digital, physical, and biological technologies converge. And what are the examples such as AI, robotics, and Internet of Things, quantum computing as well. We have discussed this when we were discussing about the stages of industrial revolution. You should be very clear about the example for the stages of industrial revolution. In the first stage, there was focus on the steam engine. Second, there was the focus on electricity and the mass line of production. In the third stage, there was focus on the computers. In the fourth stage, there is focus on AI, robotics, Internet of Things, and quantum computing. We have discussed about the fifth stage as well. There will be the focus on the cohorts robots, robots. There will be the focus on the augmented AI, that is about industrial 4.5.0. And unlike the earlier revolution, here the earlier revolution is 1, 2, and 3. Industrial revolution 4.0 is blurring the boundaries between physical, digital, and the biological system. When we talk about deepfakes, when we talk about augmented reality, virtual reality, sorry, we talk about that the boundary is blurring. That is about the fourth industrial revolution. Now let us discuss the significance of the fourth industrial revolution. Why this is important? First of all, it is important because it will lead to better economic growth. And how it will lead to the better economic growth? As it will lead to the enhancement of productivity, and it will also improve the supply chain resilience. Secondly, it will also lead to the inclusive development potential. We have to harness that inclusive development potential because it offers developing countries such as India an opportunity to leapfrog the legacy technologies and expand the digital axis. So previously, from the industrial revolution 1, 2, and 3, developed nations have taken advantage. Here the developing countries can take advantage from the industrial revolution 4.0. Even the developing countries have taken advantage of various previous industrial revolution, but the developed countries have taken the more advantage. Thirdly, it talks about the environmental sustainability. There are environmental harms as well that we will be discussing in the challenges, but here there is significance as well, such as they will support the low carbon and resource efficient growth through smart grids. Smart grids are where there will be the requirement of more power that smart grid will send. Then about the precision agriculture, that will reduce the usage of fertilizers. Then it will also talks about the circular economy practices. That means it will increase the circular economy practices. We have discussed about circular economy in the first news itself. Then it talks about the human capital centrality. So it says that there will be the shift focus from the physical labors to the skills, that we are seeing that the physical labor that was required is now shifting towards the skilling, so that provide an opportunity. So these are the significance associated with the IR 4.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0. Now let us discuss some of the challenges which are associated with the Industrial Revolution 4.0. First of all, about the technology gap. The front runner economy account for about 91% of global patent application in the advanced digital production technologies. So there is a technological gap that is supported by an example. And what it means, there is a risk of widening inequalities between developed and developing nation. I have already told in the significance that we have to take advantage to bring the inclusive growth from the IR 4.0. Otherwise, it can create a gap, and that is supported by an example here. That example is that the 10 front runner economies have accounted for 91% of global patent application in advanced digital production technologies. That is the first challenge. Second, there will be the workforce disruption. We have already talked that the physical labor will be converted into the skill, and there is requirement to develop that skill. So here the challenge is that the demand for the manual skill in the repeatable task is declined by around 30%. You might have seen about the content writer, you might have seen about the advertisement that has been replaced by the AI, generative AI. That is the second risk. Third, there is security and the cyber resilience. Because all the industry will be connected, then if there is no better cyber security policies, it will become very easy to target those industries, as one have to target on its security system, that is the connections and everything that can lead to the security threat. Then it have environmental effects as well. It can improve the environment as well, but it will have the environment effects. What will be the effect? There will be the increased use of sensors, data centers, connected device, which consume lot of energy, and that energy is produced by using various type of process which produces the greenhouse gases. Okay, so with this we have completed this news. Now let us discuss one PYQ that is not directly related to this news, but you can see what kind of questions are coming from the Industrial Revolution. This question is from the year 2015 and it is from world history, not directly related to this. Okay, the question is, why did the Industrial Revolution first occur in England? Discuss the quality of people there during the Industrial Revolution, industrialization. How does it compare with that in India as present? Even this year, Nobel Prize in Economics talked about industrial revolution in England. Why it taken place there? And it is also there in your syllabus in the world history. You can connect such points and read a news more comprehensively. With this, we have completed the main news for today. Now let us discuss the personality in news for today. Personality in news for today is Veer Surendra Sahi. So that is the personality in news for today. And the context for today's personality is that the President of India has paid tribute to the Veer Surendra Sahi on birth anniversary. In this news, we will be learning about his life and his contribution. So basically, he was born in the village of Rajpur Kinda, which is near the Sambalpur. Okay, Sambalpur is there in the Odisha, and in the Chauhan royal family. He was a tribal leader as well as he was a freedom fighter. He participated in the revolt of 1857. Okay, I think this red won't be visible. Please learn about the Paika rebellion. It is not connected to this news, but it is connected to the freedom struggle in the Odisha. It was around, I think, 1917, and it is sometimes referred as the first armed rebellion against the Britishers. Okay, so please learn about the Paika rebellion. That is not connected to today's personality in news, but that is very important for your examination. Now coming back to the topic, he began fighting Britishers at very young age, at the age of 18 in the year 1827. And he learned guerrilla tactics and organized guerrilla style rebellion involving tribal communities such as Gonds and Binjal. Okay. Then after the death of the ruler of the Sambalpur, the British government applied the doctrine of lapses in 1849 and was not given the power to the Veer Surendra Sahi, and doctrine of lapses was applied by the Lord Dalhousie in the year 1849, and he revolted against them, and he revolted during the Sipai Mutiny of 1857 as well. And Sai returned to Sambalpur in 1857 and relaunched the rebellion against the Britishers. So this was about the Veer Surendra Sai. Please read about the Paika rebellion in the Odisha. It was in 1817. Okay, with this we have completed the personality in news for today. Now let us discuss the quick update for today. So the first quick update is about Delhi's declaration of 2026, and the context here is that the Election Commission of India conference, which was known as International Conference on Democracy and Election Management, has concluded in Delhi with the adoption of Delhi Declaration of 2026. In this news, we will be covering about this Delhi's Declaration of 2026. So basically, in this declaration, the global election management bodies adopted 5 key pillars to safeguard the democratic integrity. Here it is talking about the elections. First, they talk about the purity of electoral rolls. So there should be the photo on the photo identity card. There should be better revision of the electoral roll. Secondly, it talks about conduct of election. So it is saying that the election management bodies should function as the mandate which are laid down in the constitution. Thirdly, they talks about the research and publication. So they are saying in this declaration they are saying that there should be the bringing out the encyclopedia on the democracies of the world, how the democracies and the elections are functioning. Fourthly, it talks about use of technology, and India has said that it will share its experience and digital platform of ECINET, ECNet. Then it talk about training and capacity building. So India is saying that India will share its vast experience through training and exchange its transparent practices. So how India has managed the conduct of democracy, or sorry, conduct of election in a vast manner and in a transparent manner, that will be shared. So these are the 5 pillars. Pillars are purity of electoral rolls, conduct of elections, research and publication, use of technology, and training and capacity building. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about Granth Kutir, and the development is that the President of India has inaugurated the Granth Kutir at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So in this news, we will be covering about the Granth Kutir. So basically, it is a rich collection of historical manuscript and books in 11 classical language. And what are the 11 classical language? Previously, we were having 6 classical language, and then 5 was added in the year 2024. The added languages were Marathi, Pali, Prakrit, Assamese, and Bengalis. Previously, the languages which were given as the classical language status was Tamil, Sanskrit, Kannada, Telugu, and Malayalam and Odia. Now there are 11 classical languages in India, and what is the aim of Granth Kutir? Basically, its aim is to enhance the awareness among the citizens regarding the rich cultural and the literary heritage of India, and it aligned with the vision of Gyan Bharatam mission. And what for Gyan Bharatam mission was there? It is a initiative under Ministry of Culture to preserve, digitalize, and disseminate India's vast manuscript heritage. So that is the aim of Gyan Bharatam mission, and we have learned about Granth Kutir. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about ASC Arjun. And what it is? So it is an humanoid robot. And the context here is that the Indian Railway has deployed a humanoid robot and whose name is ASC Arjun at the Vishakhapatnam railway station in the Andhra Pradesh. In this news, we will be learning about the ASC Arjun. What its objective? Objective is to enhance the passenger safety, security and service delivery, and it will assist the RPF personnel. Who are RPF personnel? These are Railway Protection Force personnels. Okay. And what are its key features? Basically, it is equipped to assist in intrusion detection, and how it will detect them by using facial recognition system, and it will provide AI based crowd monitoring and real time alert to the RPF control room. So there will be better control of the crowd at the railway station. Then it will also make the automated public announcement in English, Hindi and Telugu to generally make the public aware about the threat in the railway station. That was about ASC Arjun. Now let us move to the next quick update for today. The next quick update is about the Advanced Chemistry Cell Production Linked Incentive Scheme. And the context here is that there is lack of critical technology is threatening the Advanced Chemistry Cell Production Linked Incentive Scheme. We will be learning about this scheme. Let us first learn about the Advanced Chemistry Cells. Okay, so basically these are the cells which preserve the electrical energy as the electrochemical or as the chemical energy that can be converted into the electrical energy whenever required. That was about advanced chemistry cell. Now let us learn about the advanced chemistry cell PLI scheme. So this scheme was approved in the year 2021 and it is a central sector scheme. That means the 100% funding will be given by the central government, and its purpose is for enhancing the India's manufacturing capacity of ACC, advanced chemistry cells battery storage, and it also talks about localization. So under this scheme there is incentives for achieving a domestic value addition of at least 25% and raise it to the 60% in the 5 years. And what are the incentives? Basically the total cash subsidy to be disbursed by the government will be kept at the 20 gigawatt hours per beneficiary farm. So basically a farm can get benefit up to a benefit cap at a 20 gigawatt hour. Till then they will be given the cash subsidy. This was about this ACC PLI scheme. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about pumped hydro storage. Okay, and here the context is that India aims to develop 100 gigawatt of hydro pumped storage by 2047 to stabilize its renewable energy storage. So you might be knowing about the functioning of dams. So here the water is storage, that is the potential energy of the water, and then water is flown and it is passed through turbines to generate the electricity. That means the potential energy is converted into electrical energy. Here the pumped hydro storage are little bit different. Here there will be the another storage as well, and this water can be sent back to the previous storage by using the hydro pumps. That is the meaning of pumped hydro storage. So these are large scale electricity storage technology that store energy in the form of gravitational potential energy of water using the two reservoir at the different elevation. So here these are the two different elevation, and during the period of excess electricity, water is pumped back from the lower reservoir, this reservoir, to the upper reservoirs in the period of excess electricity. That is the basic meaning of pumped hydro storage. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about the global investment trend monitor. Okay, and the context here is that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has released this. So this context in itself is important, that the Global Investment Trade Monitor is released by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and there are some key highlights which are given in this. First of all, it is related to India. It is saying that the FDI inflow in India is surged by 73% to 47 billion US dollars in 2025. And what are the reason for so much of increase? There is reason due to the large investment in services as well as manufacturing due to the policies of Indian government and due to the integration of India into the global supply chain. And at the global level, this report is highlighted that the FDI has reached at the level of 1.6 trillion in the year 2025. That is 14% increase. And FDI inflow to the China has declined in 3 years. That means continuously in 3 years, the FDI inflow to the China has decreased. So which is the country which get highest FDI? USA gets the highest FDI. Then I think it is Singapore, then it is Hong Kong. These are the some countries which get the highest FDI. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is the last quick update for today, and it is about the Prime Minister Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi scheme. In short, it is known as PM Swanidhi. And what is the context? The context is that the Prime Minister of our country has launched the PM Swanidhi credit card for street vendors. So these credit cards will have a Rupee retail personal credit card up to a limit of 30,000, and which will be revolving as the credit facilities. So that is a development, but for that we have to understand about the PM Swanidhi scheme. So it was launched in the year 2020 and it is a central sector scheme. We have already discussed what is the meaning of central sector scheme. It was there to facilitate the street vendor to access them the affordable working capital loan for resuming their livelihood. So basically in the COVID, the street vendors were affected very badly. So to provide them credit, this scheme was launched, and it was launched implemented by two ministries. One is Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and Department of Financial Services, which is under Ministry of Finance. So with this, we have completed the News Today discussion for today. To read more about our digital current affairs and other initiative of current affairs, you can visit the digital current affairs and please solve the question which are visible on your screen. Thank you and all the best for your preparation.